As covered during the introduction of this course, we have broken down the areas of this training into two main components: sales and delivery. The sales process consists of companies, contacts, and the initial creation of the requirement. Company records are accessed from the Home tab. When searching for a company record, you will have the option of entering the name, email address, or main telephone number as criteria. There is also an ownership filter and the option to enter the unique company ID number. You will notice that the option to create a new company record is greyed out. Colleague requests that you first check to see whether the company exists on the database before adding any new company records. On finding a company record, double-click on the record or press Select. The landing page of a company record is the Contacts tab. In here, you will have an overview of all the contacts registered on the system against the company. You can sort the contacts by clicking on the column headings and open up any of them by double-clicking on the highlighted contact. There is also an option to include leavers in the list. These are contacts that have been set with an end date to their employment at the company. The workflow to do this will be explained shortly. The Addresses tab will list all of the registered addresses at the company. When clicking on each address, you will see the list of contacts that are linked with that address update on the right-hand side. Again, you can double-click on the contacts to open their record. Colleague requires that there be one primary address per company. Additional addresses are considered secondary. You can also select which addresses are to be invoiced. A useful feature to note is the map search. This button will launch Bing Maps and show on the map the location of the address that you have selected. You can also view all addresses by pressing right-click, Map Search, and then select All Addresses. The Admin tab gives you an area to record useful details relating to the company. There is also a Custom Fields tab to cater for any additional details you may wish to keep against the record. The Custom Field area supports an unlimited number of fields, and these may vary from text, numeric, date, and lookup field types. How to go about adding these fields will be covered in our admin training course. The Back Office tab will hold data relevant to the invoicing workflows within Colleague, which is beyond the scope of this course. The History tab will give you an overview of all logs and workflows that have been recorded against the company. Being as the majority of client-related correspondence is performed against a specified contact rather than the company as a whole, there is an option to select Show Contacts. This will bring through all history records from associated contacts into the history table. Filtering options are available for history type, date range, and user ID. There is also the option to set this filtering as a default if, for example, you are only ever interested in history logs that are from the past year. There is a helpful summary area here, which will list all of the users that have raised history logs against the company and the date of their most recent entry. As you click on each record, you will see this box populate with the details from the history. Clicking the Add New button will create a new history record. This is also possible via the right-click menu and from the ribbon. Update will allow you to edit a history record. And View Diary relates to the feature that was mentioned earlier on how you can view all diary entries that are related to the record. Colleague supports up to 5 different note types, all of which are searchable and can be titled as you see fit. This will be covered in our admin training course. There is a Skills tab which we will go through in greater detail against a candidate record. This can be used should you wish to log associated skills relevant to that company, and can also be populated by associated contacts and requirements. The Organisation tab is a tree-structured overview of the company's hierarchy. Contacts that are against the company will appear here, as will candidates that have been placed at the company, should you choose to tick this box. Double-clicking on any of these contacts or candidates will take you to their associated record. There is an option in Contacts which specifies whether a contact reports to another, which is used to define the hierarchy. You can also allocate a parent company by pressing right-click and selecting Additional Details. From here, you can select a parent company. The final tab is labelled Documents. This tab will default to the company dashboard, giving you an overview of live requirements, upcoming interviews and placements. The Documents tab has further usage which will be explained in detail against the candidate record. Adding a new contact can be done by clicking on the Add Contact button here, but we're going to take a look at an existing contact record. The Landing tab to a contact will display the basic contact information relating to the record. Note that there is a Reports To field and an Assistant field. These link directly to the organisation chart we went through a moment ago. There is also a Type field. This should be used to help categorise the nature of your relationship with the contact. We will come to requirements in just a moment, but if you click on the Interviews button, you'll be able to see a history of the interviews booked against this contact. Clicking the Add New button will create a new contact record. If you wish to assign ownership to a record, you can do so by clicking the button labelled Own, and the button labelled Company will open the associated company record. The Addresses tab will show all of the addresses associated with the company. It is mandatory to allocate an address to a contact from this list as a part of creating a new contact record. There is also the option of creating a personal address, which is only to be used with this contact. Here, you'll find an option to write to and map search this unique address. As with the company record, there is a Custom Fields tab to cater for any additional details you may wish to keep against the record. How to go about adding these fields will be covered in our admin training course. Both the History tab and the Notes tabs have the same format as covered previously against the company record. The Skills area should be used to record the skills that the contact is known to employ. It is also worth noting that the Skills tab doesn't necessarily have to be solely linked with skills. It can also be used for any general tags that you might want to link to a record. Note that there is an Auto Update feature, which will copy any allocated skills to the associated company record. As it was with the company record, the final tab is labelled Documents. This will default to a dashboard giving you an overview of live requirements, upcoming interviews and placements that are linked with the contact. Earlier in this video, it was mentioned that the company record can include leavers in the list of contacts. To record that a contact has left a company, you need to run the Mark as Leaver feature, which is available from the right-click menu. Here, you will be given the option to copy the contact's details over to another company. Should you choose No, you simply enter the date that the contact was known to have left, and it will consider the contact as a leaver from any future date onwards. If you know the company that the contact has moved to, and it is registered on the system, you will be able to look up the company and create a new contact, copying over notes, skills, as well as copying these skills to the new company, mobile number, and other number. It is worth noting that this doesn't move the contact. It simply copies these details to a new contact record and marks the old one as a leaver. This ensures that an audit trail of this contact remains against the old company record. Let's look at a requirement record. Requirement is the terminology used by colleague to represent a job or a vacancy. If we click on the Requirements button, it will bring up the live requirements raised against this contact. It is always recommended that you generate your requirement from a contact record, and for this example, that is what we're going to do. When creating a requirement, you will first need to enter the address where the vacancy is based. Clicking this button will pull through a list of registered addresses from the company record. You can then add the job title and confirm whether this is a single vacancy or a requirement for multiple job roles. A contract is understood to be an opportunity that exists within a fixed time period. There is an intended start date for the role and a projected contract length. A rolling contract has no fixed end date but is subject to renewal at agreed intervals. Permanent requirements have no end date. Based on your type selection, the form will update to show contract length, rates or salary information, and renewal options. The start date is a note field, should you wish to state a generic timescale rather than a specific date. Hours per week is a numeric field, and currency will give you a list of the monetary currencies you're intending to trade in. There is also a free text field to record associated benefits with the role. When dealing with rates, you have the ability to record multiple rate types. If you are factoring in pay-as-you-earn, charge and pay rates, these can also be recorded. You can also make use of the calculator to generate your pay and charge rate margin. Date filled will be populated automatically when the requirement is placed. Picked up is the creation date of the requirement record. The By field will display the user that created the requirement, and Worked by will indicate who is working the requirement. The status field can and will often be tailored to suit your needs, but by default the status is live when a requirement is created. You will note that when first creating a requirement record, you'll only be able to access the Basic, Custom Fields, and Skills tabs. As with the company and the contact record, the Custom Fields tabs can be modified to reflect unique fields particular to your business or industry. Against the Skills tab, you will have the option to record the required skill sets necessary for suitable candidates. There is also an auto update option that will populate these skills against the associated contact and company record. On clicking the Save button, you will be given the option to create a diary reminder. This can be used to indicate a deadline, assign a diary prompt to another user, or record another form of prompt to work on the requirement. Now that the record has been saved, you will be given a unique reference number for the requirement. You will also be able to access the History, Job Description, Candidates, and Documents tabs. The Skills, History, Job Description, and Documents tabs work in exactly the same way as they do against the other entity records. Additional notes recorded within the job description will be free text searchable, and any workflow run against the requirement will generate a history log. Please do make a note of this requirement ID, as we will be returning to it later in the course. We have now covered the sales process. The next section will be on the stages of delivery.